Tyrone Tracy on kickoffs. Why did you guys turn to him, and what did you see?
Yeah, he's a guy that's he obviously did it in college, and he did a little bit last year. It was something he stayed connected to throughout the preseason and the offseason in general. So he's always back there working on his catch mechanics, working on his ball skills of catching that ball forward. And, it's one opportunity to give a guy an extra touch. And he obviously has a skill set that's very valuable to this team. With his run skill as a running back, he has good top-end speed. He has good vision. So whenever you give a guy a touch like that and he's able to have a day the way he did, it makes us very confident in him to have the ability to be used back there as a returner.
Want to see more of that?
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy. Every week is a new week, and it depends on obviously volume for different players and all that. But if he gives us the best chance to win on kickoff return, then he may be back there.
You have a history with Gibson, but where does he fit in on this roster?
Yeah, no, he's a guy that, like you said, that I've worked with in the past. He's a great kid, great personality, smart football player, has real speed, and he's a guy that I'm excited to work with. With him coming new to the Giants, we got to just make certain that he understands our system, which I think he'll acclimate fairly quickly. And he's a guy that's played a lot of ball in this league. So whenever we get a chance to work with him, we're gonna move forward with him as a big time player for us. So we're just gonna keep working with him.
What's happened in the league, Mike, that now we're at a point where 60 to 65 yarders are kind of a piece of cake. 64 yarders, unfortunately for you.
Yeah.
How has that evolved, and how do we get here?
Yeah, I think number one, the training of these kickers has elevated in the past 10 years, and the strength of these specialists have also risen up as well. I think these guys have understood what the weight room could do for them, what flexibility could do for them, and obviously in terms of Brandon Aubrey, he's a generational talent. A 64-yarder is not a chip shot, but for that guy, he did a good job, and he was able to execute. I mean, a lot of respect for him because he's able to hit those kicks with ease, and that's something that I got a ton of respect for the guy for.
So you have a little bit of an older kicker. Have you seen his range increase too as he's gotten maybe stronger and worked on those things?
Yeah, and the one thing I would say about that is every environment is going to dictate that range a little bit different, depending on whether we're playing outdoors, time of year, wind, all those things. But I would say Graham Gano is hitting the ball really well for us right now and really fired up where he's at. And I have seen, obviously, like I've said in the past, he looks like the Graham Gano that we all know, a veteran, successful kicker with good range, and he's just hitting the ball really well right now.
Yeah, I hit almost a 70-yarder in the preseason.
Yeah.
What do you think of the idea that teams could just get to midfield and basically be in field goal range?
Yeah.
You for that or against it? I mean, you look at it from when you're kicking, yeah, that's great. When you're on the other side of it, it's like...
Yeah, it's twofold because if you miss the kick, you're giving the opponent the ball around the logo. Obviously, if you make the kick, points are invaluable in this league. But that being said, you just got to weigh in the time in the game. You got to weigh in how that kicker is feeling that day. But points are always a premium. But ultimately, it's the flow of the game. How are we playing defensively? How are we playing offensively? What is the score differential? And how do you obviously get to a position to win the game? So all those things factor into that. It is pretty damn cool to see the range of what these kickers are able to do, whether it's preseason or regular season.
How much has the touchback rule changed, like the end of game dynamics? You should be booming through the end zone. It's going to be the 20, 25. I know it keeps inching up, but now it's at the 35. So you don't really see teams doing that. How much does that change strategy at the end, obviously at the end of Sunday's game?
Yeah, so the 35-yard line is obviously the drive start of that for an offense. Like we had said, they puts them in field goal range pretty quickly, or at least puts them in conversations to go for the field goal. So I think in the past couple of weeks, we've seen an elevated number in covered kicks to kind of eliminate that. The nature of it is the same things that I talked about with score differential, with flow of the game. That will always factor into whether a team would want to cover to kick. And there's times that you may tell a kicker to kick a touchback and he may not be able to. So, at the end of the day, I think you got to be on point on both kickoff and kickoff return and always just be ready for the ball to be in play.
If it's crucial to not have a return, since it's only a 5-yard difference at the end of the game, what are you going to just tell your kicker to kick out of bounds instead?
Well, then the drive start would be the 40-yard line. So it's another 5 yards closer. And, at some point, what are you willing to secede? That's a conversation and discussion that all of us coaches that need to have. At the end of the day, like if you looked at us last game, I thought we covered kickoffs well. Whenever you can cover kicks and be able to pin them inside the 30, you're feeling good. Whenever you can pin them inside the 25, you're feeling great. And obviously inside the 20, you're like, okay, this is becoming a weapon. So, everything is a discussion every week. You play a new returner every week, and everybody has their strengths and challenges, and you just got to find the best philosophy for that week.
That was a big kickoff. There was a sort of a smaller one with the balls, right? That you guys get the balls now before during the season. Do you think that's affecting?
It could, whereas before, only the K balls were only allotted to be worked on, the day of the game. So, yeah. But at the end of the day, there's not a huge difference between the way the ball looks or anything. It just gives you a little bit more time to get it the way you want. So what I would say, there's not as much variation between the 3 K balls that you have. They're more similar, whereas before, the K1 ball through whatever your 3 K balls could be a little bit different just based off of how much time you put into each one before the game.
Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but Bo Collins said he's lined up in the middle, right? On your line?
On which unit?
On a kickoff return. On a kickoff. So
He did last week.
Yeah, I'm curious, Mike. How do you guys decide who lines up in that position there, as opposed to somebody else who might line up in that position? How do you guys decide? Okay, Bo's going to be in that position.
It deals with schematics. It deals with what the opponent does. It deals with what type of returns you're playing, what type of returners you're playing against. So every week, no different than what we just talked about. It's just trying to find the best matchups for our guys to be able to impact plays. You obviously want to feature all these players to be the best versions of themselves. So some games it may be in the middle, some games it may be on the edge. And obviously the more versatility a player has, the more you can ask them to line in different spots. So Bo Collins, just to see the growth from game 1 to game 2 in the regular season has been awesome. You felt his impact last week. So, he's a guy that, like I said, studies his tail off. He meets extra. He just wants so badly to impact the game and do his job. So he's not necessarily stretching for it. So it's really cool to see Bo Collins show up and be able to impact those plays.
With Abdul's role on the punt block, is it basically just try and block the punt and then you're kind of out of the play? You don't see him, running back. Is that just because he's too valuable? You don't want him mixing up with...
Yeah, so every punt return call, no different than that, is based off of down and distance, what team you're playing, how many fakes that a coordinator has. And Abdul may have looked like he has rushed a lot, but he's a guy that certainly can do a lot of different things, like I've said in the past. So, situations, time in game, score differential, all will factor into what we ask him to do. Obviously, when we see a superpower rush in the punt, like that comes to life so much more because, he's very skilled at it. So it may seem that way, but he's asked to do everything that, our other guys are asked to do.
Did he get around the edge on a field goal or an extra point kick too?
He has the impact to do a lot of different things. And for an outside backer to be able to do that specific job, like, yes, he has the explosiveness, the length that you want in that position. I think Tay Bakes has done a really nice job on field goal block of just rushing the perimeter. So we have a few guys that, we could definitely work in there. And I'm excited to work with all of them. Like, again, I've said it before, but the really cool thing with where our players are at right now is they continue to show up to work. They continue to compete, and they continue to want to be the best versions of themselves, whether it's on offense, defense, or special teams. So really pleased with where our guys are at mentally. And this week is going to be a huge week for us. We got a great challenge against Coach Tobe. He is a very respected special teams coordinator in the league for a long time and for the right reasons. He's not afraid to run fakes. He understands when he has to do it. He gets his guys to play extremely hard. They play with a certain style in Kansas City, that poses challenges to the opponent. So you got to make certain that you show up, you understand the down and distance, you understand the situation, and then you study your opponent, the personnel that's on the other side. Because Coach Tobe does a great job in just terms of attacking opponents and getting his guys to play hard and, just keeping you challenged.